All right, so let's talk about being genuine. This is something that a lot of different entrepreneurs struggle with, and the reality is a lot of people don't believe it either. When it comes down to it, being an entrepreneur, being at any level, you've got to appeal to your client base. And the best way to do that is make sure that you're looking at things from their perspective. You've always got to be able to see what they see. Not see yourself through your own eyes, but see yourself through their eyes. It doesn't matter what you're selling, what your service is, what you're building, what you're offering. Anything that you're trying to pitch or sell, you've got to remember the client's perspective, the customer's perspective. You've got to remember who you're speaking to and how they're going to receive it. That's something for a lot of people that struggle with. When it comes down to it, like that's something I've talked about in many different of the different posts that I've made on different platforms and stuff. I've talked about seeing things from a selfish perspective, because I try to appeal to people being honest. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. It's not a negative selfishness. It's a perspective of being honest. What are you seeking? What are you hoping to gain out of the situation? If you're building a business, ultimately you want your business to be successful. You want it to be profitable. You want it to be viable. You want to ultimately be able to do a few different things from said business. You want to be able to make a living. You want that living to provide you some freedom of time, freedom to go on vacation, freedom to spend time with the family, freedom to maybe go to events that you'd like to go to. People have it's a conflict, right? Because people in the entrepreneurial world talk about working 80 for yourself opposed to 40 for someone else, right? And that's a true fact. It absolutely is. It's actually a pretty modest fact. A lot of times you're going to end up working a lot more than 80. When you try to build a business for yourself, or you're trying to, launch anything, you're trying to open a restaurant, you're trying to write a book, you're trying to build a new product, you're trying to build a network or a platform, or you're building an app, or it doesn't really matter. Any of these things, you're going to put, honestly, countless hours. I've known plenty of people, I myself personally have found myself in a situation where I get started on something at like 7 a.m. thinking, hey, you know what? The boys just headed off to school. It's time for me to sit down and really, dive into this new project that I've been working on, right? I've got things positioned well enough and in other avenues of my business. It's time to launch this new project, right? And I will find myself working at it, hustling at it, and I will find myself all the way 7 p.m. the next day. I'm still at it. Now, that's not every time, but it is absolutely frequent. It's a commonplace in what we do. When you're trying to build something, you've got to give everything you've got to it. But you've got to remember, what is it you're trying to gain from it? You're sacrificing yourself now for an overall gain later, right? You want that freedom later. You want that flexibility. It's like some people have the misconception about being an entrepreneur. Oh, you could be your own boss. I've literally heard people tell me, they're like, oh man, it must be nice. You get to work for yourself, so you get to set your own schedule. Yeah, absolutely get to set my own schedule. But that schedule is very much determined by what I'm trying to do and what my goals are and what my family needs, what my boys need, what me and Kimberly need. Ultimately, all those things are going to come into play. It's like, so I find myself sometimes, I have to, me and the boys, I have to sacrifice, but I have to sacrifice some time to sit down and go to work, right? But the reality is we all sacrifice time anyways. If you're working a 9 to 5 and your kids get off at 3 o'clock from school and you don't get home till 5:30, 6 o'clock, you're sacrificing a few hours anyways, right? So me sacrificing time with them now is so my schedule can be more in my own hands later. I found myself in that position so many times before. I have a lot more control now than I used to, because I'm at a higher level than I used to be. but it doesn't change the fact that I'm still shooting for something bigger. I'm still reaching for something greater. I'm still trying to build something larger and stronger and more viable for my family in the long term, right? I want something that at the end of the day, when it comes time, I'm getting older. I got, my boys are getting older. I want, as they become teenagers, I want something to be able to hand keys to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's figurative keys. I want to be able to hand them the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. I want to be able to say, hey, look, it's time for you to step in and take your role in the business, right? The cool thing is about my boys is they've been so ingrained and incorporated and just completely immersed in everything that I do that they already are excited about this. They've already taken part. Now they both have their own ambitions and their own dreams, and I want to encourage them. I never want to stifle them away from doing what they want to do. They absolutely have their own drive, but they're already excited about doing what dad does. They're already excited about working in the family business. They already are coming up with great ideas and things like that to create content. We've got a growing channel that used to be my old channel, and now it's become their channel. And they come up with all kinds of ideas for it. Actually, they're most often the brains behind those ideas. I come up with ideas here and there, but they come up with lots of them. They're incredibly ambitious and creative. Now, most kids are like this. Most kids are. I mean, I know I was when I was a kid. I had all these drives and ambitions, and I knew all these things I was going to do. Oh, when I grow up, I'm going to do this. I'm going to grow up and do that. And it's like, this isn't something that's, not happening. It's something that over time, honestly, through society and through efforts and through things they see, gets stifled. So like the main point is just being genuine, being real with who you are. You see it on social media a lot. Social media, entrepreneurs, business owners, especially moguls, like big, upper level, the richest of the rich, right? These are the people that get attacked and ridiculed and, just beat down on social media, right? It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your level or your platform or your position in your career path. There are good people everywhere, and there are going to be bad people everywhere. Now, can those good people be influenced to do bad things? Absolutely. Can bad people be influenced to do good? Absolutely. And so I always try to put out positive vibes because I want to encourage and influence people to do great things. I want to encourage and influence people to not just do great things, but lift each other up, be a positive, have a positive mark on their community, have a positive influence on society, on their family, on everyone around them, everyone they can touch. I absolutely want people to do that. I want people to do better things. I think that if we all came together and just put in our own little effort, now that sounds like some kind of cliche, some kind of silly, peace is love bumper sticker, but no, the reality is if we all just put forth a little effort, things would be much better. But it doesn't matter where you are. There can be CEOs and business owners that are absolutely 100% corrupt. And there can be CEOs and business owners that are absolutely genuine and do great, awesome, incredible things. Now, the problem is this idea. I know people see it all the time. I know you see it. That's the thing. I know you see it. If you're on social media, you see it. People attack and ridicule these people who have deep pockets. Deep pockets. They got lots of money, so therefore they must be bad. They couldn't have possibly got that because they earned it. They couldn't have possibly, you got people attacking Mr. Beast. You got people telling that he's all about himself and he's all about vanity when the man gives away money on a daily basis. This is an incredibly kind and giving person. He just loves making videos and having fun. This is what excites him, is just doing that. It excites him to do those things. So how is it that he's ridiculed? He's ridiculed because people are bitter because he has deep pockets and they don't. He has money to give and they don't. He has money to give and they weren't given to. It's weird how people allow their bitterness, their frustration, and their perspective on their own lives influence how they see other people who are doing well. Steve Jobs is ridiculed on occasion. Steve Jobs is no longer with us, so he's not a hot, he's not an eye-grabbing name to put on social media and stuff, but he had been ridiculed. He'd been ridiculed many times. Elon Musk is ridiculed on a regular basis. Elon Musk, he rubs people the wrong way. He's loud. He's in your face. He's on social media constantly. He does things on social media. He's actually done some things that are completely wrong. They're against rules and violations with the Trade Commission. But everything he does isn't bad either. And I don't even think the things that he does that are wrong, that were, violations with the Trade Commission, I don't even think he did that with intent. I think he honestly didn't know any better. Maybe that's me giving him the benefit of the doubt. Jeff Bezos is another one, man. He's getting ridiculed all the time. Well, if he's got so much money, why doesn't he just, look at his yacht, look at this, look at that. Let's examine all the things he has, and therefore, if he has so much, he could take care of more people. The man owns 11% of the company he built out of his own, his garage. He built a company out of his garage. It took him several years to build it. Lots of people told him it wasn't going to happen, but he kept fighting to make it happen. And as he made it happen, now he's got trillions of dollars, trillion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar company that employs so many. And people attack him regularly. That it's his responsibility, it's his fault that the loaders, the stockers, the drivers, the people working in the warehouse, that they're mistreated. First of all, the man has already stepped down and retired from that company. He took his 11% and stepped down. That means he no longer has any control over anything that happens with Amazon. But nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody just wants to talk about the fact that he's got all this money, and some of the lower level, bottom, entry level people, the people who got, and let's not talk about the fact that March 2020, no, not March, I apologize. May 2020, when COVID was locking down everything, right? They hired thousands of people. The average salary was $50,000 a year. That was the average. And these are for people without credentials, college degrees, without certificates of any kind. These are people out of high school, man. The average salary was $50,000. Not many other places are going to hire you even close. And now, see, I understand the logistics of what an average means. That means some people were really high and some people were well under 50. So, okay. But I mean, he wasn't hiring that many executives. He was hiring truck drivers. He was hiring people to drive. He was hiring drivers and stockers and warehouse workers, and the average salary was $50K. He was blowing up during COVID. Because nobody could go to people's houses. Nobody could go to the stores. Nobody could go everywhere. I mean, and the places that people could go, even when the lockdown wasn't in full effect and people were free to go anywhere they wanted, there were so many businesses that closed down because their employees were sick. They closed down temporarily for days, weeks, sometimes months, because they had too many employees who had to be quarantined, who were sick, or they didn't have enough employees to man the building, man the cash registers, stock the shelves. They didn't have that. See, there's a lot of people who want to point a finger, and I don't want to get all political, but it's there's a lot of people who want to point a finger and say, oh, the government shut everything down. The government did shut a lot down. And again, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they were doing the best they could in a situation that they didn't fully understand. You may agree with that, you may disagree with that. I don't think it's relevant, really. I just want to get to the point that Some of those businesses weren't shut down by the government. A lot of those businesses were considered essential. My buddy across the street from me, he lived across the street from me. He was a manager at H-E-B. H-E-B is a grocery store in Texas. So it was the primary grocery store in Texas. And the thing is there was multiple times that he had planned to go to work and he didn't. And he, his wife, they would message me. Like I said, they were across the street, but we were keeping our respectful distance because the kids and everything, we were really trying to be cautious. But he had continued to multiple times have his store and multiple other stores throughout Austin were closed because lack of employees. They didn't have enough employees because people were sick. And during this time, Amazon grew because you could get groceries from Amazon. It was weird. You could get groceries. Not only could you couldn't get all the groceries, There was only certain groceries and it was in only certain areas. Doesn't change the fact that he was absolutely doing the best. Well, his company. It's not all on him. See, that's the thing, is I give the man credit for what he deserves. He built a company. He had an idea for a company and he grew that company. Now, is he responsible for every great thing that they did? No. Is he responsible for how some things have gone wrong? No. Because he has a board. He has a board. He has a board of directors that absolutely makes decisions. He has executives in place. He's got management at different levels. So ultimately, a lot of that stuff comes down to checks and balances. So absolutely, if there's complaints on a very low, small level, like the warehouse workers, well, those warehouse workers need to file a complaint. And if their supervisor, their direct supervisor isn't taking initiative, then they need to file a complaint with HR. HR gets involved with the supervisor above their supervisor. And it works its way up. And yeah, absolutely, after going through 20 people, maybe back when Bezos was still the owner, then it would have gotten to him. But the thing is when things hit the news and stuff, people like to forget this, when things hit the news, there was several times he actually went on the record going to several different warehouses and taking tours of the facilities. He had so many facilities, it was unreasonable to think that he was going to be at all of them. He wasn't. But he toured the facilities and, made comments about what they should correct, what they should work on, and what was going well. He met with all these people. So he did. He took the initiative once he saw that, hey, there's reports that things are going left. But like I said, it was only months after that the man retired. He retired. He stepped down as having any control in the company. He kept his 11% shareholder, but that could have been any of us. Any of us could have been a shareholder in the company. He holds his 11% stake. So that means 89% of that company is owned by the masses. It's owned by other executives. It's owned by other random people like you, like me. I have a stake in Amazon. I absolutely have a stake in Amazon. Love Amazon. Amazon's great. Amazon's great as a customer. I love Amazon. As a business model, it's incredible. I've got some friends who are very much against Amazon because they work for mom and pop brick and mortar places, and they believe that Amazon is the destruction of that. And I disagree with that. I respect their stance though. I absolutely do. I don't think you should be swayed in your moral stances and your beliefs. So my friends and my family members who will absolutely never buy Amazon because they believe in the brick and mortar, you know what? I absolutely support that. That's incredible. That's great and good for them. But I do believe in Amazon as a great company. But see, I also don't believe in the concept that Amazon will destroy that, or that has a chance of destroying Amazon. You'll get something from Amazon, like these great deals and discounts, and you can get things delivered to you like tomorrow and all this kinds of stuff, which is super cool. You can get things like right now, my daughter's watching my cats back in Texas. We're in Oregon, and I can have cat food, cat litter, and things delivered to her on a monthly cycle, a subscription basis where I don't have to worry about it. And I know other websites do that as well. But some websites just do food, and some websites just do litter. And I've searched, and Amazon's the one place that I can get everything that I need delivered to her on a regular basis. It's great. It's incredible. Do I believe that a brick and mortar can do that for me? Do I believe that a mom and pop place can do that for me? I would never expect a mom and pop place to do that for me. But when I want something specific, like I want to go and buy something like one of the mom and pop places that I worked for, man, and it's crazy because it's not even a mom and pop place anymore. It's definitely ran by a family, but that family is so much bigger than, just a mom and pop place. I worked for an incredible music store. And this music store grew and grew and grew, and it took over nearly every other music store in the city. Nearly. It's only got a couple left besides them, when there was tons of them before them. But it's crazy, and they've been around since 56. But the thing is, if I want to know something about a guitar, I'm not going to Amazon. I'm going to them. That company I worked for was Straight Music in Austin. They're incredible. They're ran by the Straight family. They're absolutely amazing. The family is amazing. I know the owners. I know a good majority of the people that work there. Some of the people that worked there back in the day have moved on, but I still know a lot of the people that work there. I had the pleasure of working there for a long time, and if I wanted to know anything about sound audio equipment or anything like that, that's the place I would go. If I want to know something about a piano, that's the place I'm gonna go. There's a lot of little places that can tell you that you can go, and it's like, you want to get that, there's a mom and pop bakery. Yeah, you can get some baked goods on Amazon. It's not going to be like the bakery down the street. It's not. It's just not. And that place is never going out of business because of that. Amazon's never going to put a place like Straight Music out of business. Amazon's never going to put, some of these types of things out of business. Amazon, yeah, you can get a lot of books on Amazon. And Amazon literally started as a bookstore, as an online bookstore. But it's never going to replace Barnes & Nobles. It's not. It's just not. There's an essence. And Barnes & Noble's a big one. But you can go to a local little local mom and pop bookstore, and there's something incredible about it. You'll find things in that bookstore you wouldn't find at Barnes & Noble's probably. You'll find something that you'd never found on Amazon there. It's cool. Those places also have a vibe. You're not just going there just for that book. You're going there to discover something. Those places aren't going out of business. Now, the truth is, that some of those places do go out of business, but it's not because of Amazon. I'll tell you that. But that's just my perspective. That's my feeling on it. People may have different perspectives. So when it comes down to it, I feel like some of these moguls, some of these CEOs, some of these big time executives have taken the time to do interviews, taken the time to get in touch and talk directly to, their employees, their workers. Like I said, back in Austin, I knew the Straight family personally. They not only did they work directly in the building with us, they had their office, but they worked in the building with us. Not only did they do that, but they weren't shy or unfriendly. They definitely, if a new employee was hired, they absolutely were going to go talk to that employee. They were going to talk to that employee almost right away and say, oh, hey, by the way, welcome to the store. If you need anything, or if you think anything, or if you have any thoughts or questions or anything, feel free. I'm right around. There's my office right there. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you've got to be. When you're running a business, you've got to be available to your employees, but you've also got to be available to your client base, to your customer base. You've got to be available for people to talk to you, to understand what you're thinking, where you're going, what you're trying to do with your business. Like when it comes down to it, that's what you really need. You really need direction, but you got to be genuine about your direction. If you're just at the end of the day, well, I'm just trying to build this product and, I had this great idea, I had this invention, so I created it. I don't really know much about the business world. I just think this is beneficial. It was beneficial for me, and I'm trying to put it out there so it's beneficial to you. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're genuine about it. Now, again, a flip side of this coin is people who do interviews and do things like that, frequently they get taken out of context because the media likes to spin. They do. especially on social media. Social media people either like you or don't like you, and if they like you, they're going to take clips and sound bites and say, hey, this is what he said. Well, that was only like 12 seconds out of an hour-long podcast. Is that really who he is? Yeah, absolutely. That's who he is right there. I told you. People who don't like you will do the same thing. People who dislike you, or maybe they didn't even know you. They didn't even know you, but they just stumbled across a little clip. Or happened to come in and be like, oh yeah, I love Rogan. I normally catch his podcast, every week when I can, but, today I was kind of busy, so jump in the car, turn it on, and it's already in the middle of it, and they hear something, and the first sentence they hear out of context, they're like, I can't believe he would say such a thing. This happens. This happens. So you've got to know that when you're saying things, anything can be taken out of context. And you got to not sweat it. But you got to be willing and able and just available to put yourself out there. Like I said, when it comes down to it, what's most important is that you know where you're going first. If you know your direction, you know what your overall goal is, you know what's driving you in your business, then that needs to be number one. Number two, make sure that if you don't have employees, you don't have to worry about it. But if you have employees, make sure your employees know what the mission is. Make sure they know what the direction is. It's important that they model what you model, what you want to represent your company. While they're on the clock, they need to model you. They need to exemplify what your company is all about while they're on the clock. Now, there's a lot of social media and nonsense about that lately too. That's like somehow that's an infringement upon speech. No, it's not. While you're on the clock, you exemplify your company. You don't go around bashing your company when you're on the clock. You don't go around getting all religious or political or whatever if your company doesn't want that. If that is somehow infringes upon your company's overall mission. Doesn't mean you're not you. Doesn't mean you're not who you are and you're not your individual self. It just means while you're on the clock, you have a job to do. And you need to exemplify that company. But it's up to the CEO, it's up to the management, it's up to the executives to make sure that they're putting that forward and telling you, hey, this is what it takes to work for us. This is what it is when you work for us. This is what we need from you. This is what we expect from you. And then the third step is your client base and your customers. You need to know that they know. You need to know that they know. See, so you put information out there, but you don't really know. I posted this thing. I wrote this thing. I have a mission statement. I have this thing on my website. How many people are going to your website? Do you know? Have you talked to are you running your own website? Do you have a guy who's running your website? Are you looking at the analytics? If you're not, that's what you need to figure out. You need to know that they've had every opportunity to know what your mission is and what your overall goal is. And like I said, you gotta be genuine. You gotta be real. You just gotta put yourself out there. At the end of the day, haters are gonna hate. There's gonna be people that throw shade. There's gonna be people who dislike what you are or what you're doing. There are gonna be people who dislike or try to stifle or hold back your success. There's gonna be people who want to get in the way of your progress and not want to allow you to get there. And the crazy thing is they may even like what your overall concept, idea, product, service is, but they're too stifled by their own bitterness to even see that they should get behind you instead of trying to get in front of you. But that's what people do. It's a real thing. It's unfortunate, but it happens every day. You've got to be prepared for it. You've got to accept it, and you can't let it get in your way. You just got to be real with yourself, and you got to put yourself out there. Be real, put yourself out there. I don't got a problem being a bad guy. I don't got a problem telling people exactly how I feel. I don't got a problem if they don't like what I'm doing or what I'm building or what I'm growing, because this isn't about them. It's about me. It's about me. Again, I appeal to the selfishness because that's what your business is for. Your business, you're building for you. You're growing something because of you, because of your family, because of your needs, your desires, your whatever. So at the end of the day, it should reflect that. Hey, I'm building this for me, but in order for me to get what I want, what am I doing for you? You know? It's a give and a take, and that's what people miss. Oh, well, these CEOs, they just get and they just get and they just get. Yeah, because they built. They fought, they dug their fingernails in, and they went after all they could get. That's what it comes down to. So if they're going to go after it, do they deserve it? Yeah, they do. They do. It's capitalism, man. They're building something and it's theirs. So if they build something, it's theirs. And what you take away from it is you get a service, you get a product, you get, whatever. Maybe you get a job. Any of those things, that's your piece of what they built. If you work for Amazon, that's your piece of what Bezos built. If you bought a book, you bought a discounted, grill or kitchen appliance, that's your benefit of what Bezos built. If you're like me, you got shares in Amazon and you're watching the stock price go up and you're collecting little pieces, you're getting interest off of your investment. That's your piece of what Bezos built. If you're one of those guys who was smart enough to get in years ago when the stock was like nothing, and now you're sitting on, 100 times what you put in, that's your benefit of what he built. We got to stop doing this where we're trying to tear people down for building something. Go build yours. I've been saying that for a long time. If you're watching my channel, I know you understand that, and I know you believe in that. So let's get to building. Let's build yours. I'm your boy. Be sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell and get your notifications. Stay tuned. I got more coming at y'all. I'm out.